Greetings all, I hope you're all doing well out there. Welcome back to another session of Not the Norm. As you're probably aware, I haven't done a video for a wee while. The last couple of months I've actually been travelling around the country doing presentations in the North Island of New Zealand here. But as usual, I always start off my videos with caveat emptor, meaning buyer beware, and that's to do your own research. This vid's about war. The word war has major psychological implications. It triggers fear. Humans feel threatened and look to the government for security. In a state of fear, humans will do anything and believe anything without question that will provide them with the illusion of security. That is why there is a war on terrorism, a war on drugs, a war on poverty, etc. This is psychological warfare to keep humans traumatized, suppressed and under control. Because where there is fear, there cannot be peace. And if you look around at the world at the moment, we might not be in an open war here in New Zealand or in a lot of other countries, but you can guarantee we are in the middle of a war at the moment, because there's lots of people dying around us as a result of what's been going on over the last 3 years. And 99% of us are good-hearted people who respect others and want peace. So unfortunately, the other 1% rule the world and tell us we're at war. Well, in actual fact, we are at war, folks. So, some of these memes I'm showing you here are a wee bit old, but underlying everything, if you can't see that we're at war at this stage in the game, then you must be pretty much living under a rock. And as many of you, I'm sure, are aware, war is business, folks. It's good business too if you're in the right game. War is the greatest debt creator known to man. So why do we resist the idea that both sides of wars are typically funded by the same bankers? Are we scared of the implications? Could they be manipulating the wars into happening for their own profits? Well, you can pretty much guarantee that that's a given. The bankers want war so they can lend money at interest to the governments on both sides. The corporations want war so they can sell their military products to the governments on both sides. The governments on both sides want war, so the above will keep them employed and in power. Wars are big business. They are manufactured by the elites, not by the enemy. And in fact, in the old days, I think the old king would ring up his mate in France and say, well, he wouldn't ring him up, of course, he'd send a rider out there, but he'd say, look, me peasants are getting a bit too raucous. I'm taxing them too much. Could you come over and attack us so we can distract them, wipe a few of them out and put them into states of poverty and distract them from what's going on, and then the king can get away with carrying on charging his taxes. Bankers have financed both sides of every war since Napoleon, pretty much. And you still think the government sends troops to fight for freedom? You must be a special kind of stupid. War, who's it good for? Lockheed Martin, Halliburton, Boeing, Raytheon. Support our brave CEOs and don't question wars. Nothing will end war unless the people themselves refuse to go to war. Quote there from Albert Einstein. And here's another quote. The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. Hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. The war is waged by the ruling group against its own subjects, and its own object is not the victory over either Eurasia or East Asia, but to keep the very structure of society intact. And that was George Orwell, 1949 from 1984. And of course, it's the same with internally within countries to get populations fighting against each other, whether you have an indigenous culture in your country like we do here in New Zealand, and there's been lots of division being sown because, it's the old modus operandi of divide and conquer. And here's another quote for you. This is from Major General Smedley D. Butler, 1935 U.S. Marine Corps. He was a 2-time winner of the Congressional Medal of Honor. He states, war is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, and surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. Now, he's a man who must have known what he was talking about, I'd say. And again here from General Smedley Butler, our boys were sent off to die with beautiful ideals painted in front of them. No one told them that dollars and cents were the real reason they were marching off to kill and die. Again, sounds like he knew what he was talking about, doesn't it? So quite simply put, war is organised murder and nothing else. That was Harry Patch. He was the last surviving soldier of World War I. Again, when these people who've experienced and been through and lived through these tragic instances in our history, we must take heed of what it is that they're telling us. If you invade another country, you aren't defending your country. You're actually attacking people who are defending their country from you. It's ridiculous that I even have to explain something so obvious. And this is what happens with your mainstream medias and all that, and the propaganda, the narratives that they spin to the people to get them hating other people on other sides of the world that they've never met before, using all their fear-mongering tactics that they can put in place. When you think about it, and the fact that America has been at war 222 out of 239 years since 1776, you can see that there's definitely a real agenda going on there to create this kind of vicious killing of other populations. Funnily enough, it's often, America, especially with America bombing brown-skinned countries. Again, that hate and division is fostered. And you think about some of the results of war and how much it devastates countries. But then, after the devastation and the bombing, they often send in the contractors there to rebuild these cities, and thereby ensuring that they make money at both ends of the war. Because war is when your government tells you who the enemy is. Revolution is when you figure it out for yourselves. How can you have a war on terrorism when war itself is terrorism, said Howard Zinn. Here's another meme here. I'm not going to read all these memes out. Actually, you guys can stop the video at any stage you want to and read these, but we'll read this next one here though. I felt then, as I feel now, that the politicians who took us to war should have been given the guns and told to settle their differences themselves, instead of organising nothing better than legalised mass murder. I am a soldier. I kill people that my government tells me to kill because I am a pawn in a game that I don't understand, and it will end with my own family being enslaved by those I take orders from. Very interesting there too. If you have a look at the spelling of the word soldier, that's what it is. It's a soul dyer. If they're not killing their own souls, then they are killing the souls of others. They tell you very clearly in the words. And war is where the young and stupid are tricked by the old and bitter into killing each other, said Nico Bellic. You can check these guys out on the net too if you're not sure of who they are. And this next quote is from Gore Vidal. He says, you can't have a war on terrorism because that's not an actual enemy. It's an abstract. It's like having a war on dandruff. That war will be eternal and pointless. It's idiotic. That's not a war, it's a slogan, it's a lie, it's advertising, which is the only art form we ever invented in America. And we use it to sell soap, wars and presidential candidates in the same fashion. Again, sounds like someone who knew what he was talking about. It's ludicrous to assert that soldiers are fighting for your freedom while they take their orders from the very people who are taking it away. The only freedom soldiers defend is the freedom of corporations to exploit people and resources for profit. Now here's a guy that doesn't need any introduction, I'm sure, Henry Kissinger. His quote is quite famous actually. He's a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, hard to believe that too, but he said, "Military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy." Again, I'm not going to read out all these memes here. You guys can stop the video at any stage, but there's a quote from Aristotle there, Buckminster Fuller. Yeah. I'm not afraid of Muslims, I'm not afraid of the Taliban, I'm not afraid of Al-Qaeda, I am not afraid of Iraqis, Afghanistans or Iranians. I'm afraid of psychopathic leaders and politician criminal warmongers. And, you know, these guys have been running the show for a while, a lot of these characters, and they're still on the scene, most of them still alive, and I'd like to see the day that they are actually held accountable. Hopefully, that day is coming soon. The war on terror is just a mind game, and it has so far cost Americans alone $6 trillion. I'd probably put another $10 trillion on that. As I say, some of these memes are a little bit old, but again, you can go through and stop the video anytime you want and read these. Here's a quote there by Dwight D. Eisenhower, and another one here by Albert Pike. I'm going to read this one out because this is quite prophetic actually. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenter of the Illuminati. Between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world, the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arab world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Now this guy was obviously a high-ranking Freemason and wrote Morals and Dogma. Now, of course, it's 2023 at this stage, and war has changed its face in a lot of ways. It's gone from being an overt war to a covert war, and this is where we get this silent weapons for quiet wars. It states the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted now using biological warfare, fought with silent weapons. When one looks into things like smart dust and nanotechnology and these types of things, it can get quite concerning, in fact. And so we need to be aware of these things. And as I say, I'll let you read those memes there. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's you know, it's something the entire world must learn about. Silent weapons for quiet wars. I actually think it's a book as well that was written, so you might be able to find that on the net. Yeah, so we're living in different times. There's all sorts of other weapons that they're picking up. Of course, one of them is the CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. It's something that I think they're going to pretty much introduce fairly soon. We're in September of 2023 now. It's the 14th of the 9th. And I don't think we're very far away from them actually collapsing our monetary system. So we'll see how that plays out. I definitely think it's going to happen before the end of the year because, you know, that they need to take control. And what they're actually doing now is depopulation. And they've been stating this for a long time, of course, through UN documents, the Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050, clearly stating that they want countries' populations down to about a third of what they are at the current time. And, you know, as we can see, it's been happening over the last few years. They're pretty much rolling on with their agenda. So we need to start waking up, folks, because they are literally killing us, killing our children. And that's what it is. They're attacking us at the moment. So you need to start waking up. You need to start getting together, banding together, and really, you know, putting up a front against this thing. It's no time. It's no time to be silent in this day and age. There's all sorts of horrific things going on, as many of you know. You don't need me to elaborate on them, and in fact I can't because of the censorship that's going on. We all know it's very real, the shadow banning, the censorship. It's pretty prolific at the moment and getting harder and harder for people to get the word out. So pretty much obvious, folks, you need to wake up or pay. It's These are the, I wouldn't call them the end days. I don't think we're quite at the end days yet, but we're getting some, you know, we need to start getting our act together and uniting as one against these covert wars that are going on all around us. So, hope you enjoyed that video. I'm going to end it there. I might do another one actually going into some of the language around war, and I'll put one out fairly soon. I'm going to try and do them more regularly, the videos, but and keep them a little bit shorter too, because I know people's attention spans are getting short these days. So if you enjoyed that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave us a comment down below. And if there's anything else you want me to cover or look into for you or elaborate on, let us know. Cheers. Hope you enjoyed that.